So you are in the market to upgrade your old iPad, or you are getting a new iPad for Procreate for the first time. You have probably looked at iPad Pro, seen the price tag and thought, not happening. Luckily, there are two more budget-friendly options right now. The new M3 chip iPad Air and the new upgraded iPad 11th generation from 2025. But which one is the right for you? So let's break it down and find out. And hi, I am Eva and I'm an artist and illustrator, and I have been using Procreate for almost a decade, working in the art industry, first working in design and animation, and then later on various client projects, teaching art classes, tutorials, workshops, making Procreate brushes, and making videos like this one to help you make smart choices when it comes to iPad and Procreate. So in this video, I will compare the M3 chip iPad Air and the iPad 11th generation from 2025 based on the criteria that actually matters to us as digital artists, which is size and weight, display and drawing experience, Procreate Apple Pencil compatibility, storage and Procreate layers, and of course the price. Since the M2 model from last year, the M3 iPad Air now comes in two sizes, which is 11-inch and the 13-inch model. And the new iPad 11 comes in one size, which is 11 inches. And weight-wise, the iPad 11 is almost the same as the iPad Air 13. And they are about the weight of the hardcover sketchbook with 50 or 60 pages. The 13-inch Air model is naturally heavier because it's a little bit bigger, compared in weight to a thick mixed media sketchbook. And if you are wondering which iPad size is the right size for you, think about which size of sketchbooks you are naturally gravitating towards. You can also consider your hand size and how much of the screen your hand will be covering when you are drawing, and also whether your favorite bag can fit in the 13-inch model iPad, or you might prefer the smaller version so you can take it with you everywhere. Currently, I use the larger model, the 12.9 inches iPad Pro, because it gives me more space to draw in Procreate. And if you are wondering, it wasn't my first iPad. My first iPad Pro was the 10.5-inch version, and it worked very well when I was starting out. But after getting used to a bigger screen and more canvas space when drawing, using the smaller screen would be a bigger adjustment for me now, so I definitely prefer more canvas space when drawing now. The iPad 11 uses the same display technology as the iPad 10. It's vibrant, with decent color profile, which is sRGB, and I think the colors pop quite nicely. And I think when I draw, my artwork looks pretty good on the screen, and for the price point, I'm quite happy what I get with this model. What is not so great is that, like the iPad 10th generation, the screen isn't laminated, which creates this subtle tapping sound when you draw. Can you hear it? It feels more like drawing on a glass rather than on a digital sketchbook. And that happens because there is a tiny gap between the display and the glass. And it also lacks the anti-reflective coating, which can be challenging when drawing outdoors or in very brightly lit studio. The M3 iPad Air model uses similar display technology, but there are two big upgrades. Firstly, it's fully laminated, which means no gap. And secondly, it has that anti-reflective coating. Plus, it uses wider color profile, giving you more vibrant and more accurate colors, which is great for your digital paintings. And both displays have 60 Hz refresh rate. And you might wonder if that's worse for drawing compared to the iPad Pro models with their fancy ProMotion and 120 Hz screens. Well, it really depends on your art style. Me personally, I don't notice much difference when drawing. My art approach and art styles involves creating mixed media look in Procreate because I really like how it looks in my traditional sketchbook, and it also works well for my more detailed artworks with lots of colors and lots of color blocking and more expressive brushstrokes. If you do a lot of gesture drawings and you like to use very quick brush strokes, or you work in animation, or you like to do very detailed line art, then you might benefit more from the iPad Pro with the ProMotion technology. Because that experience might feel smoother to you because technically the Apple Pencil input is more immediate and more responsive. But remember, it all comes down to your budget and what matters to you the most when it comes to your art style and how you use iPad and Procreate. There is a simple rule when it comes to Apple Pencils and iPads. The iPad you choose dictates which Apple Pencil you will be using. The iPad 11 is compatible with the Apple Pencil first generation, and I use this pencil extensively with my first iPad Pro. And the experience of drawing with the Apple Pencil is one of the reasons why I fell in love with Procreate. To pair and charge it, you will need this cable adapter. The new M3 iPad Air supports the Apple Pencil Pro, which comes with some amazing features, like the haptic feedback, squeeze gestures, barrel roll detection, and that cool hover preview function. And here is a quick but quite important note on the Apple Pencils. Both iPads are technically compatible with the Apple Pencil USB-C, but please do not get it if you want to draw in Procreate because it lacks pressure sensitivity, which is, in my opinion, one of the most essential features when it comes to digitally drawing and painting in Procreate. So try to save yourself the frustration. Storage is one area where iPad 11 really improves over iPad 10 because it starts at 128 GB, then it goes up to 256 GB, and then up to 512 GB. The previous iPad 10 offered only 64 and 256 GB options. And I think that 128 GB option baseline gives you so much more breathing room when it comes to storage, especially for your apps, Procreate files, and also reference images that you can store on your iPad and then use it in the reference window preview easily when drawing in Procreate. And the M3 iPad Air gives you even more options ranging from 128 GB and going all the way up to 1 TB storage option. And the extra space is very valuable if you plan to work with animation, with many tracks, or you plan to do lots of high-resolution big artworks with many layers. And if Apple pricing for the storage upgrades on iPads makes your wallet cry, you can consider the alternative, which is external storage. And for a fraction what Apple charges for the storage upgrades on iPads, you can get the external drive with much higher storage options. Just make sure to get the USB-C drive that is compatible with Mac and Apple devices, and you are good to go. The number of layers you can use in Procreate and the number of tracks that are available for you in Procreate Dreams directly depends on the RAM which you have available on your iPad. And I always consider this when I create classes and tutorials, and I try to limit the amount of layers because I always think of those of you who have iPads with smaller RAM availability and have less layers to work with, and I still want you to have enjoyable and fun experience when learning from my Procreate tutorials and classes. So when it comes to iPad 11, it has now 6 GB RAM, which is a nice upgrade from the 4 GB RAM which was in the previous iPad 10 model. For example, at 3000 dpi on the iPad 11, your canvas options look like this. At 16 inches by 16 inches, you will get 25 layers. And I also tested A sizes for you, so at A4 size you get 73 layers, at A3 size you get 34 layers, at the A2 size, which is quite big, you get 15 layers, and at, for example, 3000 by 3000 pixels you get 70 layers. And in Procreate Dreams, you will be getting 200 content tracks and up to one 4K video track. And the M3 iPad Air steps up with the 8 GB RAM, and let me show you what it means in Procreate. At 16 by 16 inches, you will get 41 layers. And when it comes to A sizes, at A4 size, you will get 116 layers. When using A3 size, you will get 56 layers. When using A2 size, you will get 26 layers. And when drawing at 3000 by 3000 pixels, you will get 112 layers. And what about Procreate Dreams? You will be getting up to 200 content tracks and up to 4K tracks. And now let me throw around more numbers for you. Because if you are looking for the highest possible number of tracks in Procreate Dreams and highest possible number in layers when using Procreate, you should consider the 16 GB RAM option. But that currently comes only with the iPad Pro, 1 TB and 2 TB storage options. And I also prepared an overview for you about the Procreate layer limits and also why they even exist. And you can find it on my website, and I will put the link down here, and you can also find the link in the description later. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you like creating complex artworks with many layers, I would definitely consider iPad Air or iPad Pro if your budget allows. And then if you are just starting out or you don't mind occasionally merging few of those layers when drawing, I would go for iPad 11. If you are new to digital art and you are working with a tighter budget, currently I think the iPad 11 is the right choice for you. And I think it's also a great starter iPad for your family members if you want to get it for your nieces, nephews, or kids in the family. Starting at $350 and 6 GB RAM and 128 GB storage, I think is currently the best, cheapest option when you want to draw in Procreate on iPad. The 11-inch M3 iPad Air currently starts at $599, while the larger 13-inch version begins at $799. And if you are just starting out your art journey or you draw less, I think 128 GB option storage will serve you well. But for more experienced artists, or if you know that you will create a lot in Procreate, I would definitely recommend the 256 GB storage option, so you have more breathing room when it comes to storage and your files. So which iPad should you actually get? I would definitely recommend iPad 11 if you are buying an iPad for a kid or your family member and they want to have a great digital art experience. Also, if you're a traditional artist and you are curious about painting digitally, I would go for this model. Also, if you are just starting out on your art journey and you are not sure how much you will draw, and also you don't want to invest too much into your new iPad, I would go for iPad 11. And the bottom line here is that I think the iPad 11 model is the best budget-friendly option currently on the market if you are not thinking about the old refurbished models. And then I would recommend the M3 iPad Air if you are more experienced artist and you are maybe upgrading from the older iPad Air or upgrading from the basic iPad model. Also, I would choose this iPad Air if you are a professional artist and you are upgrading from the older iPad Pro model, but you don't have a budget for the newest iPad Pro model. Or also, if you prefer the laminated drawing display and you want to have more color accuracy when it comes to your artwork. So if I needed a new iPad right now, I would definitely consider this 13-inch M3 cheap iPad Air model. And I hope that this comparison has been helpful to make your decision when it comes to your new iPad. And I'm super curious which iPad you will end up choosing, and I'm sure that others would love to know too. So please let me know in the comments. And for more art inspiration, you can check out my sketchbook tour videos, which you can find here. And also, if you want to watch my older iPad reviews, you can find them here. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, see you next time. Bye!